Hello everybody, I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday morning. Today we're going to be looking at a southwest storm that could be bring about 3 to 5 inches of rainfall to parts of the desert southwest. Definitely could flood some roadways, especially for those areas very dry over the past couple of weeks or months. And that's going to be leading to some pretty bad flooding, unfortunately, for those areas if the models are correct with this system. Now, before we do get into it though, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you never miss a video when I upload. Now here's the current National Weather Service page, and you see we have air stagnation advisories over parts of Idaho and Oregon. Then we have some dense fog advisories, so some fog for areas in northwest Oregon and southwest Washington. And then we have just some wind advisories, some high surf advisories over southern California. And then over the east, a big mess, especially off the coast, where you have a bunch of gale warnings, gale watches, wind advisories, high wind warnings, flood advisories, coastal flood advisories, all of that, all in this one area in the eastern, of the eastern coast. So that's from your nor'easter. All of this is from your nor'easter. But we're not going to be talking about that today. We did make a video on that about 2 days ago, so if you do want to check that out, it is on my YouTube channel, so you can go check that out right now if you want more detail on that. But today we're going to be focusing in on the southwestern U.S. and the southern plains, where you could be getting quite a bit of rainfall for those areas, and you haven't seen rainfall in quite a while. Now, we're going to move on to the European model and what it's showing. So you see, this is your area that we're worrying about, this little low pressure off the coast of Baja California, and then into parts of Mexico. And then this is going to move out, and it's going to get blocked by a high pressure once this low pressure moves out. So this low pressure is going to move out into the central and eastern part of the U.S. Then a high pressure is going to come down behind that, again blocking this low pressure. So it's going to have to stay for about 2 or 3 days over these areas, producing some pretty heavy rainfall with that. Now, as we continue to move on to Wednesday morning, or about Wednesday around midnight, you're seeing rain starting to creep into parts of the Arizona, southern Arizona, and southern New Mexico, and then it starts to get a bit more widespread by the time you're waking up on Wednesday. Now, by Wednesday, around lunchtime and into your afternoon, more widespread over the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, and then over the Four Corners, some pretty heavy rainfall, moderate rainfall, and some snowfall in the higher elevations. And it continues into your Thursday morning. This will be for your morning commute around that time. Pretty heavy rainfall. You're seeing this first low pressure system that dipped out, move south, and then it's going to move back north and east a little bit. So this is going to be blocking this system right here. All of this is one big low pressure system, and this system right here is going to be blocking that, and then a high pressure is going to move down, and that's going to be blocking this even more. So it's going to stay for at least 2 or 3 days over these areas. Now, as you continue, it's going to continue to move through into the Four Corners. Still Friday morning, so this storm started Wednesday morning. It's still Friday morning, and you're still seeing rainfall over the same areas of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, around that Four Corners area. That's where you could see the heaviest rainfall. And then it's going to start to move out of Arizona and New Mexico by Friday night around that time. And then this low pressure starts to develop again over parts of central Texas, and you're still seeing a bit of drizzle around Arizona and New Mexico and some mountain snow, but this low pressure is going to be the bigger deal now over the eastern part of the country. So this storm has pretty much wrapped up for the southwest, and it's going to start heading out into the northeast and the southeast. Now, as we continue, very heavy rainfall over the southern plains, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama as well, Oklahoma, Texas, all of you seeing some pretty heavy rainfall, and then the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, and then also the higher elevations of New Mexico, potentially seeing some pretty moderate, I would say moderate to light snowfall. Could amount to about an inch or two over those areas. And then this pretty significant rainfall kind of stalls out for a little bit over the southeast. Could bring a good 3 to 5 inches of rainfall over those areas. And then it's going to start to move north and east. Now this model only goes out 240 hours, so this is going to be the final frame of this model. But you can kind of picture it in your mind how this low pressure would continue to move north and east, and you see we have some pretty cold air in the interior northeast, so most likely some snowfall coming up on this map for those areas with this system. Now here's the total rainfall from this. This could be in the form of rainfall or snowfall, but generally, once you're about south of this area, this is pretty much all going to be rainfall, except for those higher elevations. So you see, anywhere in those greens, that's going to be about a tenth of an inch to half an inch to 1 inch in those blues, 1 to 2 inches in those yellows, and then 2 to 5 inches in those reds. And once you get into those browns and whites, that's about 5 to 7.5 inches. So you're seeing over the southeast, you're seeing about an inch to about 6 or 7 inches, according to the European model. So pretty significant in the form of rainfall for those areas. Now, as you get into parts of the southwest, you're seeing a good 1 to 3 or 4 inches. Some isolated areas could get around 4.5 to 5 inches over central Arizona, but it's more significant because these areas don't really see a lot of rainfall over pretty much the entire year. They see about, I would say, around like 8, 9, 7 inches of rainfall over the entire year. So the fact that you're getting 4 or 5 inches of rainfall in one system is pretty significant for these areas. So that's mainly why I made this video, because of how significant this is going to be for those specific areas. Now, we're going to go to snowfall here, and this is mainly for the higher elevations, but even some of these lower elevations could get in on some of this snowfall. So you're seeing generally a tenth of an inch to 2 inches in those grays, 2 to 6 inches in those blues, and then 6 to 12 inches in those purples, 12 to about 24 inches in those pinks. So you're seeing over the southwest, generally about 3 to 4 inches, but once you get higher and higher in elevation, you're seeing about 6 inches of snowfall. Now here's the GFS model, and we're going to focus in on the western U.S. here. So you're seeing this is for the same time frame, Wednesday morning, and you're seeing some pretty heavy to moderate rainfall indicated by those darker greens and yellow and oranges. Now it's going to continue to move a bit further north, but it's really going to just meander around that same area, just bring some mountain snowfall. And you see this is the high pressure I was talking about. They kind of show up on this map. So you see this high pressure is right here indicated by this H, and then this low pressure is right here. So this low pressure has nowhere to go. It can't go westward because of these westerly flow of air. So all the systems have to move to the east. So this storm is really trapped. It really has nowhere to go until this moves out and this also moves out. So it's trapped for the most part, at least for this time. So Thursday morning, and still seeing some pretty heavy rainfall over New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and then it continues to move out by Friday morning. It's really getting out of here, and you're seeing that high pressure starting to move down and replace that area, bring some potentially pretty cool air, some pretty cold air for those areas, some unseasonably cool air. Now, it's going to move out into the eastern U.S., so now we're going to focus in on the east, and it's going to move out into the southeast by Saturday morning, and this is much quicker. For this time frame, it was really stalling out over the southeast, but you're seeing that this system is really not going to stall out over the southeast according to the GFS. It has nothing blocking it. Originally, you had that system up here kind of blocking it, so now you don't have anything blocking it, and it's going to be able to just quickly move out to the north and east and potentially bring a bit of snowfall, although I wouldn't count on that. That's probably going to be a wet snowfall. So this is still 200 hours out, so this snowfall most likely not going to happen. I also was just looking through the GFS and I saw this snowfall, so I was like, how likely is this really going to happen? Most of these areas are around 36 to 35 degrees when this is happening. Some areas are in the 40s when this is happening. So the GFS just being a bit wonky or a bit weird with this particular run, and the runs before this had no snowfall for these areas, so I really would not count on this actually happening. But the real gist that you want to see is that you have this low pressure system situated right here, and that's going to move out to the north and east. So don't focus on the snowfall because it's most likely not going to happen, and it's going to move out to the north and east. Now here's your total precipitation, and you're seeing in those greens about 1/100 of an inch to half an inch in those greens, half an inch to 2 inches in those blues, 2 to 6 inches in those purples, and luckily we don't have any of those reds or yellows on the U.S. Some offshore where that nor'easter was, but luckily none onshore. Now here over the southwest, you're seeing about 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, so a little underdone by the GFS according from what the European was showing, about 5 inches of rain for that same area. But they basically have the same area as central Arizona, seeing the most rainfall. So if you do live in that area, expect a bit of flooding, especially if you're not used to it. If you're prone to flooding, definitely be aware of that. And then you're seeing this next band, but you see the European model had over parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas. They had about 6 inches of rainfall, and the GFS has, first of all, has it moved farther north, that bullseye, and it also only has about 2 inches of rainfall. So that's a 4 inch difference in rainfall, and it's also about I would say 200-mile difference in where it's located, the bullseye. Now here's your total snowfall from the GFS, and you're seeing kind of to back up what I was saying, that it's probably not going to be too much, even if this snow does actually occur. You're seeing only about 1/10 of an inch of snowfall here, and most of this, even though you did see snowfall according to the GFS, which most likely won't even happen, it's not even picking up here for the snowfall. So really, if you live in this area, don't expect snowfall from this system at all. Maybe if you live in the interior northeast and the northern plains, and then also the higher elevations, that would be a little bit more plausible. But really, if you live in the mid-Atlantic, coastal northeast, and then kind of the central, the Ohio Valley, the southern Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, don't really expect any snowfall out of this system. Sorry to be if you wanted snowfall, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's most likely not going to happen. The big story is over the mountains, over the southwest, seeing finally a little bit of snowfall, about foot 2 feet in some areas seeing 3 feet of snow. So you kind of had an active start to the season, especially in Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah. That area had a pretty active start, but really calmed down as you got into the later half of October and the start of November, but looks to kind of ramp back up as you have that Pacific jet stream starting to kind of build back in. You don't have a lot of ridging out in the west and a lot of troughing out in the east, bringing colder air. You more have a zonal flow where it's going to allow a lot of systems to kind of pass straight through the country, not bringing a lot of ridging or troughing. Now, that is going to wrap up the video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. And thank you for watching. That was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.